Thanks for joining us today here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner, whether it's your first time listening or even a long-time listener, we really do appreciate you joining us. Here's how you reach out, 419-794-3030. It's 419-794-3030, online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. On today's show, we're going to let you know when and how to start preparing for Medicare. There's a spoiler, it's probably sooner than you might think. With only 2.5 weeks left in the annual election period, it's a good time to ask, have you reviewed your plan for 2022 yet? And what has been the trend this year as far as Medicare recipients goes? All this and more. But first, let me check in. Nolan, Scott, glad to be with you. As always, how are we doing this weekend?
Well, we're doing wonderful. Nolan had the event last Saturday for Hooves, the fundraiser. What a fantastic time. Had a great time. Had a great turnout, Nolan. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was a really nice turnout, and I think you did well.
Yeah, it turned out great. I had 17 different types of chili to pick from, so everything.
I was going to ask about the chili. Very curious.
To very spicy.
That was good. I tell you what, there were like your some sweet chilies, and then you hit this one that's like flamethrower, but it was good. It was great. It was a great time.
Yeah, we completely sold out Vallywood, so I don't think we could get any more people into it, and that's a good thing because. Might need to be looking for a larger location. And, thanks to all the listeners and everybody that helped support it. I know Fred Lafever from here on WSPD came out, emceed the event.
Oh, awesome.
And, he did a great job.
It was good having so many people there. And the great news was at the end of the day, we raised over $28,000 for Hooves to help, save our local heroes and veterans. And it's going to really help us kind of get that momentum going into the 2022 year. But I got news yesterday that unfortunately another local veteran committed suicide.
Oh,
so with 22 veterans a day committing suicide, it just proves that our work is never done. And that's what we're here for. So again, anybody who's listening, if you are a veteran, maybe know a veteran, somebody who's challenged, and it's okay to be challenged. Mental illness is definitely a thing that happens, PTSD. Whatever the case happens to be, I'd encourage you to make sure, check us out, Hooves, HOOVES.US. We've got a bunch of great things that we're going to be doing throughout the winter, and then we'll have our retreats planned for next year. But here locally and trying to help people out, and appreciate, again, everybody's support, whether that's coming out and volunteering and helping at the farm, helping on the retreats, and of course those monetary donations are always great. So thank you so much.
Nolan, do you happen to know the name of the band?
It was like Lady Freedom.
They were awesome.
Yeah.
I thought they did a great job. They interacted really well, and the lady sang real well, and whatever her name was, she did a great job. It was fun. It was a great time.
Yeah, we actually did an interview with One American Network, so our national show, We're going to be on One American Network in December. Dan Ball came out, did an interview with us throughout the day, joined us at the Chili event, so it's even cool that we'll be on some national news here coming up.
Yeah, good deal.
Absolutely. Glad to hear that. Shining a spotlight on a great cause. Glad to hear there was a good turnout. And again, it's all about taking care of those who have helped protect our freedoms and what we get to enjoy as a veteran's own business. I know America's Retirement Headquarters is very passionate about that, and just glad to hear it and looking forward to all the events in the years to come. But let's go ahead and dive in here on this week's show. It's the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. And we've talked many times, and we'll no doubt continue to talk on the show about how properly preparing can make the retirement transition a smooth one. But it's not just the financial side we need to take into account. So, Scott, I got to ask, how do we prepare? How do we make the transition from employer or individual health insurance plans to the Medicare world? How do we make that a smooth transition?
Well, that's a great question, Chris, and I will tell you this. It's what a lot of people don't realize is, when should I start preparing? Mm-hmm. And that's a surprising thing. When you start working and earn an income and have the assets available to start investing is when you should start preparing. Now, telling that to a 25-year-old that got his first big gig, nice job and making money and starting, the employer match and things like that, the last thing they're going to be thinking about is in 40 years from now turning 65.
Yeah.
But you want to think about that as early as possible and utilize, as we've talked many times before, the buckets of money that you have available. One of those buckets would be putting money away for health care, investing in health savings accounts. Health savings accounts are great accounts where you can put the money in and get a tax write-off and use those funds once you get into the Medicare world. You know, and also, Nolan, with the Roth conversions and putting money into Roth IRAs, Roths are not reportable income at this time. Now, that may change at some point, but right now it's not reportable income. And it's never too early to put into a Roth. Is that correct?
It really isn't, and you know, it is a big part of what you're talking about as far as the cost associated with healthcare. You know, those folks that are listening that end up retiring before the age of 65, you know, ultimately end up going on typically the Affordable Care Act, get COBRA, you know, things like that. But in the Affordable Care Act, one of the things that is determining your healthcare cost is how much your income is.
Right.
And you're right, it can make a major difference. So by strategically planning and utilizing things that are not countable, like after-tax investment accounts, or as you mentioned, Roth IRAs, can be a good way to keep some of the costs down. In fact, even when you transition into Medicare, I know one of the common questions is, what does Medicare cost me and what are my expenses? And there's also expenses that get associated with your Medicare premiums based upon some decisions that people make. Again, another example, we had a couple recently that had come in. They decided to go ahead and pay off their mortgage. And, you know, on the surface, I like the idea of being debt-free moving into retirement time. I think that is a general characteristic of somebody that is more successful in retirement time is somebody who doesn't have debt. What they didn't realize is by taking that large distribution out of their retirement account to pay off their mortgage, their income level got too high and ended up costing them more, not in just health insurance costs, but also in their Medicare premiums. So, Scott, I guess maybe touch on that a little bit. Like, what are the different costs associated with Medicare?
Well, you know, the eligibility requirements for Medicare itself is you must have worked 40 credit hours, which equates out to 10 years of service paying into Medicare. And if you have done that, then Part A is free, and Part A is hospitalization. But Part B, now that's one of the changes for 2022 coming down, is the Part B premium for a standard age earner is $148.50 for 2021. In 2022, that is going up to $158.50. So you will see an increase in your Part B premium. As far as original Medicare, that's all you really have to pay for. And one of the things that I'm seeing and getting a lot of questions on is the confusion in an Advantage plan and a supplemental plan versus original Medicare. I'm getting all kinds of questions on, what do I have to pay? Now, wait a minute. I thought I had original Medicare and it was all-inclusive. Well, it is all-inclusive of Part A and Part B, but the gaps that original Medicare has is where you want to purchase a supplemental plan or an Advantage plan. But I met earlier this past week with a client in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the husband turned 65, and he is looking to go on Medicare, and the wife is several years younger than him, and she is looking to retire. Well, you have an issue there, and this is where preparing for this prior to getting to 65 or prior to changing your plan is very, very important. So their income, she's going to have to go on the marketplace to get coverage because she's not eligible for Medicare. And they do have an 18-year-old daughter who is still a dependent. So they really have to utilize their income streams because the husband is taking Social Security. The income levels for the spouse is causing her premiums to skyrocket because of him taking Social Security, and they're taking money out of a 401k to do their day-to-day living. So I mentioned to him, one of the things you want to think about is look at a Roth IRA, taking funds out of that. If you haven't already done a conversion this year, maybe you want to look at that. So in 2022, you can utilize the non-taxable income and non-reportable income to lower your premium to take advantage of the subsidy. So those are things you want to prepare for prior to turning 65. I have a list of some other things to be prepared for. One, as everybody knows, the enrollment periods, the annual enrollment period is October 15th through December 7th. So one big thing is don't wait until December 7th to think about what you want to do. I mean, that's a big one. You know, you want to make these decisions prior to October, have some sort of an idea what you want to do, and move forward. Talk to your doctors and ask your doctors the medical plans that they see on a day-to-day basis. Which ones do they like? Which ones pay claims on a timely fashion? Which ones do they have less headaches dealing with? That's another big thing to look at. The other thing is, be on the lookout for your plan's annual notice of change, because that's when you're going to see the changes that are coming in for the following year. So we're midway through the annual enrollment period right now. I mean, we got 2.5 weeks and we're done with the annual enrollment period. And then we'll have a little lull there until January 1st, when open enrollment starts. So, that's something you want to be prepared for. The other thing would be make a complete list of your prescriptions. This is a big one. People come in to me and they have no idea what drugs they're on. They have no idea. I say, well, I got this list, and they come fumbling through their wallet trying to find this little folded up piece of paper with all of their drugs on it. And it's wrinkled and faded, and so it's hard to read sometimes. But have a list of all of the drugs that you're currently on, so when you do sit down with either myself or your whoever advisor that you deal with, you'll be able to go through all of your medications. Know the pros and cons of a Medicare Advantage plan and a Medicare supplement. There are drastic differences, so those are things to be aware of. Just don't panic. If you haven't made changes during this annual enrollment period, there's still a possibility that you may qualify for a special enrollment period if something changes in your day-to-day living in your life. You move to a new servicing area, you can always make a change at any time. So the big thing is just be prepared, like you said, the Boy Scout motto, be prepared and don't wait until the last minute to decide what you're going to do.
Well, let me ask you this, because we do still have 2.5 weeks, but you mentioned, schedule that appointment to review your options in the annual election period as soon as possible. There is still a little bit of time. Is there still time right now to schedule a review with you guys and make changes to the plan that they have for 2022?
Absolutely. I'm taking appointments. I'm even taking appointments, not very often, but I try to keep my Friday open so I can do my catch-up and get all my policies submitted that. But yes, I can actually take appointments right up until December 7th. When the clock strikes midnight is the deadline. So don't call me and expect me to come in at 11 o'clock at night to sign you up. But, yes, there is time, and I am more than willing and able to sit and talk with anybody that needs help.
And to get started, all you have to do is pick up the phone and give a call, 419-794-3030. That's 419-794-3030. I couldn't help but notice you mentioned the increase in premiums next year. About what percentage is that offhand? Do you know?
Oh gosh, that's about a 6.8% increase.
And what was the COLA, the cost of living adjustment this year?
What was that, Nolan? 5?
Exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Funny how that works out. So
yeah, exactly.
It is something, it's good, obviously, because things cost more to have that increase, that bump in your Social Security, but things cost more, like I said, and that includes your Medicare premiums. That usually is the case. But again, it's not just about healthcare. It's not just about the finances. It's all the pieces together and how they work together. And that's why it's America's Retirement Headquarters and America's Medicare Associates, why they work together to make sure that at the end of the day, you're set up to be as successful as possible going forward in your retirement. The number again, 419-794-3030. So Scott, I have to ask, what are the trends that have been happening during the annual election period, and how do they differ from years past?
Well, it's been extremely surprising to me this year. As I've mentioned before, I've been doing this for 27 years, and in the past, the big trend was a Medicare supplemental plan. Most people like that supplemental plan. It gives you the coverage with the low out-of-pocket expense. It gives you a deductible, which, by the way, The Part B deductible for 2022 is going up to 217. But that has always been what most people were looking at, and they've come to me and say, hey, what's the cost for a supplemental plan? The trend this year has been Advantage plans. I don't know. Maybe it's because of Jimmy Walker. Dynamite is on TV now, so I don't know if it's because of him and they're tired of Joe Namath and Mike Ditka. But the trend has really been Advantage plans. I would say that of all of the policies I've reviewed and written this year, I'm about 95% Advantage plans.
Oh, wow.
My philosophy or guess or 2 cents on that is, and this is what I tell my clients when I sit down to meet with them, is, back 15, 20 years ago, what happened when people you were turning 65? There were 3 or 4 things that happened. 1, you turned 65. 2, you signed up for Social Security. 3, you signed up for Medicare. And you retire. I mean, that's just what happened. You stop working and you sign up for Social Security and Medicare. Well, that's changed now. More people are working into their late 60s and even into their 70s than ever before. And I think the reason why the Advantage plans are so attractive to people now is because it's most similar to the employer plan that they had prior to retirement.
Okay.
You're going to have your out-of-pocket expenses, your co-pays, which is what you have on an employer plan. I mean, Nolan, an employer plan that you would have your deductible, your out-of-pocket, your co-pay, and your network. You're used to that, right? I mean, that's just what happens. Well, that's kind of how an Advantage plan works, with one big difference. And this is where a lot of people get confused. They sit down with me and they say, yeah, well, the Advantage plan has that big deductible. And I go, oh, no. It is not a deductible. It is a maximum out of pocket. So the big difference with a employer plan is you usually have your deductible and then your co-pays before the insurance company pays anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with an Advantage plan, you pay as you use it. If you don't go to the doctor, go to the hospital, have that surgery or that minor procedure, you don't pay anything. You don't pay a deductible first, you pay a copay. So yes, it does have a maximum out of pocket, but I think it's most similar to what people are coming off of from their employer plan. So the other thing is it's zero premium. Typically, you can get a Advantage plan for zero premium, and people like that. And I think with the uncertainty and with the the inflation cost rising as these staggering numbers are showing, people like to cut cost and they're willing to go with that zero premium plan. And I think that's what you're seeing.
And if you look at it, this year there's about 8% more Medicare Advantage plans are available in 2022 than the previous year. In fact, if we look at the statistics that it's out there, it kind of makes sense that people get a little bit overwhelmed when trying to make these decisions. So in total, there's 3,834 Medicare Advantage plans that are available nationwide for individual enrollment in 2022.
Right.
So you were walking through a little bit, Scott, some of the decisions, and obviously those options vary by state and county, but when you're looking at those, it's a matter of, are your doctors covered?
Absolutely.
Are your prescriptions in there? And then what are the other typical things that when people are kind of walking through the decisions between, which option's right for them, what are the other common things that maybe come up?
Well, dental. Is dental covered on these Advantage plans? What about silver sneakers? Does silver sneakers? It's funny. I did a video call with somebody, and in the background, the husband was on the camera, and the wife says, "Is silver sneakers part of this?" And he says, "No, you're not getting any more shoes." And she says, "No, it's not silver sneakers shoes. It's a gym membership." So, dental, vision, hearing are automatically included with an Advantage plan, and that's important to people. So you're not paying an additional premium for that. Silver Sneakers is a gym membership, which is also very important to a lot of people to stay healthy moving through their retirement years. And the nice thing is, you go to the doctor, you typically have a $0 to $5 copay, and people like that. I mean, they don't have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses unless they actually have that catastrophic claim, and even then, you're not going to reach your maximum out-of-pocket. So, you're right, Nolan. There's a gazillion of these plans out there, and I think what you're going to find moving forward, and this is just Scott Kirshner's 2 cents, take it for whatever it's worth. Probably not worth 2 cents, but I don't know. But I think you're going to see the market shift, I would say, in the next 5 to 10 years, where an Advantage plan is pretty much dominating, controlling the industry out there.
And something else that you talked a little bit about, Scott, is you talked about kind of the trends that we see with, retirees continuing to work longer and longer, maybe past the age 65. So, something that I often hear when people come into the office is, somebody's 67, they're still continuing to work. How does Medicare work when people work past age 65?
So you don't have to actually sign up for Medicare. That's another big misconception with a lot of people. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm 65. Even though I'm still working, I have to sign up. We mentioned Fred the Fever. I helped him out with an issue that he had because he was misinformed about that. So if you have an employer-sponsored plan, you can go on that plan. You don't have to sign up for Medicare. If your employer-sponsored plan has good coverage and they're paying the premium, you're going to save money. You don't have to sign up for a Part B and pay that Part B premium. If you are participating in an HSA account and you sign up for Medicare, you lose the ability to contribute to the HSA. So, I advise people, if your employer plan is doing the job for you, you like it, even though you're planning on retiring at 70 and staying on the employer plan, have at it. I think it's a good thing. There's no reason to necessarily sign up for it if it's going to cost you more money to sign up for Medicare.
Okay, and here's the important question. We've talked about this before, and I think it's important to bring to people's attention again. If they don't have the option of an employer-sponsored health, if they're still working part-time, a couple hours, but they're not really getting the benefits, and they don't sign up for Medicare, is there a drawback to that?
There is a huge drawback to it. Actually, I'm going to add one thing to what you said there, Chris.
Okay.
If they're working part-time and they don't have an employer plan, or if they have an individual plan, because a lot of people say, well, I get a subsidy and I'm paying, I have an individual plan on the marketplace. I'm not going to sign up for Medicare. That does not constitute credible coverage for Medicare. Another thing that a lot of people don't understand is COBRA also does not count. So even though you're on COBRA, you still need to sign up for Medicare.
Okay.
Now, your question was, is there any problems not signing up when you're first eligible? Yeah, there's a huge problem. If you don't sign up for Medicare when you are first eligible and you don't have credible coverage elsewhere, then you can suffer a 10% penalty for each 12 months that you should have signed up. Now, here's the real kicker. It's 10% for each year. So if you are 65 and you wait until 70 to sign up for Medicare and you did not have credible coverage, that's 5 years. That's 50% on top of the Part B premium.
So it's not just like a one-time penalty where you just pay it and then this is going forward, it's going to be a 50% increase?
Well, so for example, in 2021, Part B premium was $148.50, right? So it's 50% of $148.50 on top of $148.50. Well, in 2022, it's 50% of $158.50 on top of $158.50 a month.
Okay, yeah, so that really does add up, and
Oh, yeah.
it's again, it's why it's imperative to know this ahead of time. Again, one of those things you need to consider before you're getting ready to approach retirement. So not that that's not enough, but is that it as far as penalties go, or is there something beyond that?
Well, that's it for Part B, but you also have the prescription plan penalty, which is 1% of the national average, which I think is forecasted to be roughly $33 for 2022. It's 1% of the national average for every month that you didn't sign up that you should have.
So that one's monthly.
That one's a monthly cost,
Okay.
but that penalty, and both of these penalties are for life,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't get out of these penalties. So one of my jobs is to make sure that we don't pay penalties. We don't want to get into that situation where we're paying penalties. Those are never a good thing.
No, not at all. And again, it goes back to the Boy Scout motto: whether you are a scout or not, be prepared. It's important to do that. It's important to be prepared, to know about these ahead of time. Figure out ways to avoid paying these penalties, avoid paying more in your Medicare premiums than you need to. And again, because it can go a long way to giving you that peace of mind that you need in retirement, not having to pay for unnecessary healthcare expenses. All starts scheduling a time to speak with America's Retirement Headquarters and America's Medicare Associates. 419-794-3030 is the number. It's 419-794-3030. You can go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. And again, it's not too late. The annual election period is winding down. There is still time, but please, I'm going to ask on behalf, I'm going to beg on behalf of Scott here, don't call him on December 6th or December 7th at, 10 o'clock at night. Can you help me out with this? Go ahead and take care of it now and go into the holidays and go into 2022 with that checked off your list. 419-794-3030. You can always find them online, americasretirementheadquarters.com. We want to thank you so much for joining us this week, as we always do. Really do appreciate you taking time to spend with us here. Hope you have an excellent week ahead of you. Hope you have a safe week ahead of you. And guys, as we wind down here, I want to leave you with the final word.
Well, I want to personally thank each and every listener out there, and if I can help you, like Chris said, we've given out our phone number and a number of times. I'm here to help in any way possible. Nolan?
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great week as we kind of start approaching Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family and friends that you get to spend some time with. Be, thankful that if you have good health, and we appreciate everybody and are thankful for you listening. We'll talk to you soon.